So, how many of you have been to a library in your area that lets you rent video games? Is that weird or kind of rare or something? Because it sounds pretty normal to me, as just about every library in my area lets you do so, but every time I talk about this with online friends, they always seem surprised. But yeah, my library lets you do that kind of thing, and it's been a really fun opportunity to try out games I've always wanted to, but could never find the opportunity elsewhere. Stuff like the 3DS Kirby games, the Mario and Luigi series, Detective Pikachu, a modern Donkey Kong Country game, Poke Park, Ratchet and Clank, the 3DS NintenDogs. I absolutely loved the original as a kid. Also, I got to try Rocket League, which is a game that absolutely is not made for me. Not a fan of sports games, or racing games, or car games for that matter. Games with battle passive mechanics and microtransactions are an inherent turnoff for me. And I'm not really a multiplayer guy in general, but something about this one just kind of hooked me for some reason. It's now something I play semi-regularly. Oh, and by the way, would anyone be willing to trade me the Carbonator Gold Explosion, preferably unpainted sky blue or cobalt? My favorite card to use in this game is this one I constructed with kind of a water and bubbles motif, and this explosion would be perfect for that, but I also don't want to spend $20 on it. Seriously, hit me up if you got a spare copy you wouldn't mind trading away. I'll give you basically anything in my admittedly meager collection for it. The library has even been able to get me into games that I absolutely love today. Like, for example, this is how I was first able to try the Final Fantasy series and Zero Escape. Yeah, my library was responsible for me getting into those sets of games. But anyway, I was browsing through a local library's collection over the summer, and I stumbled upon Minecraft Story Mode. And my first reaction was just, oh. You've probably at least heard of this game before. It was first announced at Minecon 2015 to a very mixed reception. A bizarre collaboration between Minecraft and Telltale Games, a company mostly well known for heavily story-focused experiences. Minecraft with a story? What kind of story can you get out of a funny block game like this? Well, it came out, and despite it selling well enough to be one of 2 games Telltale ever actually made money on, it still remained rather niche, and pretty mixed in terms of its reception as well. I feel like most people just maybe saw a single playthrough of their favorite Minecraft YouTuber playing it or something, and then never thought about it again. The most notable thing being a pretty infamous death scene. You know the one, if you know anything about this game. Deep down, I've always wanted to try it, and to be honest, I never thought I'd actually be able to. I immediately checked it out. Played it over the next 2 weeks or so, and I can see why it's decisive. It has good moments, it has bad moments, it has really bad moments, it has moments you're supposed to take seriously but just kind of make you laugh. It has a pig that makes this face sometimes. Its tone shifts like halfway through. Its characters are so one-dimensional, and a few of their personalities completely change at some point. And in one instance, it accidentally creates the best character in the game. I love you, Ivor, we'll talk about you later. It has some genuinely interesting story concepts and cool villains. It has some tense moments. It has cringy moments. It has some kind of creepy moments. And no, I'm not talking about the uncanny animations of the characters. I'll talk about that eventually too. It has frustrating quick-time events that actually ruin like every action sequence for me. It's weirdly meta sometimes. It left me simultaneously wanting more yet never wanting to play it again. I'm not even kidding when I say this, but like, this game is like Y2K levels of all over the place. And I know a thing or two about Yick. Minecraft Story Mode is an inconsistent disaster piece that's right up my alley. I need to talk about this game, like you don't understand. So I'm gonna make a big old video about it, and it will probably take me longer to make than anyone should ever really be looking into this game for. So I think something worth mentioning right now is that this game is currently delisted on all digital platforms. The company that actually developed the game, Telltale, went defunct in 2018 for reasons way over my head and way beyond the scope of this video. And this led to pretty much all of their games being removed from digital storefronts over the following year for, again, reasons over my head and way beyond the scope of this video. All I will say is that, folks, this is specifically why game preservation is important and why AAA publishers are the worst thing to ever happen to video games. Minecraft Story Mode is one of said games to be delisted as a result of this, which pretty much leaves the only way to play it legitimately anymore to either be through physical copies, thank God those are still a thing, and a watered-down re-release on Netflix of all places? I don't know, it's some form of preservation at least. Although I don't have a Netflix nor equipment to record this on a console, so all footage I'll be using for this video will be from various long plays and let's plays on YouTube. The majority of which being from XCageGame, who I am infinitely thankful for allowing me to use so much of their playthrough for the purposes of this video. Go check out their stuff. It's a lot of cool gameplay footage for, honest to God, some of the most random selection of games I've ever seen. Thanks again, and without further ado, let's start the game. This title screen theme is weirdly haunting to me. Like, this game just doesn't feel real, you know? You can actually pick one of 6 player avatars for the protagonist in this game. Their name is going to be Jesse no matter who you pick, and a gender-neutral name like that actually lets them get away with giving you both male and female options, which is pretty cool. Going off most promotional material for the game, though, I think it's safe to assume that this guy is the most quote-unquote canon one. Though, it's cool that they give you options. Minecraft's all about player expression and all that. Chapter 1, The Order of the Stone. This game series adapts to choices you make. The story is tailored by how you play. Okay, that's something I probably should touch on too before we get too far in here. This is actually a staple of a lot of Telltale games, but constantly throughout the adventure, you'll be giving various choices on what to say, or where you'd want to go, or who you want to save, etc. And all of these choices have branching pathways and change how other characters will perceive you. A lot of the time, these changes are pretty minor, like, say, alt will change is what other characters will say or do immediately after, or a bit later into the game if they're really feeling clever, but there are a few examples where they can actually do things like change your appearance permanently, or give you a whole new story scenario. It's kind of cool and adds some replay value to these games, which for something this story-heavy is greatly appreciated. I only played the game once back when I tried it on Switch, so there's bound to be some stuff in this long play even I haven't seen before. We start with a bit of a lore dump about a legend that this world holds dear. A story of 4 heroes that defeat the Ender Dragon. Gabriel the Warrior, Ellegaard the Redstoner, Magnus the TNT guy, and Soren who's they call the leader, but honestly he's just kind of there. I'm going to be perfectly honest, I'm already kind of interested here. Not in the story itself, some legendary heroes on an adventure is kind of run-of-the-mill for backstory stuff, but more in the sense that I'm curious where it's going to go. For those of you not really familiar with Minecraft, which I'm not sure how often I'm going to be saying that in this video, considering, while it's the best-selling game of all time, there's always a chance my audience isn't super into it due to the types of game I typically play. The Ender Dragon is the final boss of Minecraft. You have to do an enormous, admittedly pretty annoyingly cryptic series of steps to actually find your way to it and defeat it. And I kind of assumed that this journey would be the story of the game going in. But that's already done. Does that mean that the entire game takes place in post-game, technically? It gets me curious what the story's actually going to be now. As we're introduced to our actual protagonist, we're asked,
would you rather fight 100 chicken-sized zombies or 10 zombie-sized chickens?
Okay, so this is how dialogue is handled for the most part in this game. Characters will ask you questions or for your opinion on something, and you have a limited time to pick one of 4 options, or even to say nothing at all, which can be pretty funny sometimes. I kind of like this dialogue system, to be perfectly frank. Apparently this is how they're usually handled in Telltale games, and it's a good way to keep the player involved and engage in conversation, so cutscenes aren't literally just watching it the whole time. Even if your choices don't change that much in the grand scheme of things. It kind of reminds me of how Golden Sun does dialogue. Our best friend here is Olivia, voiced by Martha Pillimpton, who has been acting in all sorts of things since the 80s. Although as far as I can tell, this is her only video game performance, which is kind of interesting. And your protagonist is voiced by either Patton Oswalt or Kathleen Tabor, depending on if you picked a male or female avatar respectively, both of which themselves have voice acted all sorts of characters. By the way, I am not a normie, like at all. I don't really know mainstream actors that well, so while I do like to say who voices each of these characters in these videos, when I look through their IMDb's to give examples of stuff they voiced in, I'm never able to tell what exactly their most popular roles are for the sake of making a good example here. That's it, and that's if I recognize their roles at all. Like Patton Oswalt, for example. When I looked through his page, I noticed he voiced the protagonist from Ratatouille, and the first thing that popped into my head was not, oh, Remy, but, oh, Little Chef from Kingdom Hearts 3, which is wrong on so many levels, because not only does the character not originate from that game, but he also doesn't even talk in Kingdom Hearts 3. I looked through Catherine's Taber's page, and the only role I really recognize is specifically Lego Padme of all things, because she was the only character I didn't feel insane while playing as when I played that game of Cosmic a little while back. Padme, I need you. You're my comfort character in this game. I don't know if I'm using that term correctly, but like... These actors are all great and all, but I just don't watch enough mainstream stuff to really recognize their voices when I hear them. So if I ever come off as a little quick when talking about voice work, that's why. And also why you're not going to hear me talk about specifically voice performances that much either. Because I have heard people complain that with this game, they claim that a lot of these actors didn't give it their all, or gave lines too much of their all, or didn't understand the characters or tone, or they were a horrible choice for said character or whatnot, which I think is more of a voice direction issue than the actors' faults themselves, but whatever. The writing is pretty bad sometimes, and I certainly will be bringing that up a lot, but I guess I just don't have a good ear for good voice work versus bad ones. Like, on top of not really being into pop culture, like I mentioned a second ago, you also gotta remember that I grew up on, like, PlayStation-era dubbing, so I guess bad voice work just isn't as immersion-breaking to me as it would be for most people. Back to the story, though. We start in a treehouse talking with our best friend Olivia about that random hypothetical. We talk a bit about Redstone stuff, and
Ruben is the best pet I could ask for. Obedient, loyal, and always happy to see me at the end of a long day. No, friend. I should have said friend,
Ruben,
not pet.
Jesse's pet pig, who is also a major character. We're all going to God, that's distracting. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to go on another tangent here. Okay, so talking animations. When you have a game with a lot of dialogue, you'll often find yourself animating them speaking. And there are a few ways to do this. If you're working with a AAA budget with actual realistic models, one extreme is you can meticulously animate every syllable, string them together in a natural way, even change them between languages if you're ambitious enough. If your game has a bit of a lesser budget though, or is indie, or the art style would make too much animation like that look weird, or just don't think it'd be worth the effort, because admittedly this is a pretty extra thing to do in the first place, what you could often do is just create different mouth shapes for your characters, and then flash between them on your characters' faces when it's appropriate for them to do so. There's definitely a sliding scale to all of this here, but hopefully you get what I'm getting at. When Minecraft Story Mode asked themselves which approach they want to go for regarding this whole question, though, their answer was to throw their hands up and go, fuck it, let's do both for some reason. They create all of these unique, realistic mouth shapes for every type of speech for every character, and line them up with every word spoken in a way that looks correct on a physicality level, which in all honesty would be a pretty smart thing to do for a game with as much story as your average Telltale game. But they're on these blocky, simplified Minecraft skin characters, and what ends up happening as a result is this clashing amount of work put into talking animations, combined with a straightforward and art style, is this uncanny, unsettling, borderline creepy mashup sometimes that I genuinely found distracting the entire game. It is truly baffling. Like, did no one at any point high up in production not look at this and go, yeah, that looks a little weird, especially when characters are up close. It's especially intrusive when they try to get all dramatic and position the camera real close to the people's faces, and they talk like this. And it sucks, because I know a lot of time and energy must have been put into making all of this work like this, when a much easier approach of either just making a couple talking sprite characters would cycle through, or even utilizing subpixeling to a certain extent, would have looked much better. I once found this video where someone created the entirety of the original trailer for this game in, like, actual Minecraft utilizing some of these techniques, and I think this looks like a lot better in, like, every way, to be perfectly honest. This is a game that is 95% listening and reacting to spoken dialogue. It's an obvious elephant in the room that I really needed to bring up earlier, or was just going to bother me to no end. Okay, but let's actually start talking about the plot now. So our story begins in a treehouse. We play as Jesse, he has a pet pig named Ruben, and we're hanging out with our best bud Olivia. We're talking about going to some convention get-together thing before getting jump-scared by our other best friend, Axel, voiced by Brian Posen? I think that's how you say it. And, okay, speaking of Axel, here's another thing that kind of bothers me. So, Minecraft character models are traditionally these proportions. Kind of a generic upright figure that you're free to express any kind of skin you'd like onto it, right? Like, hell, here's the one I personally use. It was made by a good friend of mine, and it's based off an OC of mine. This is the blank canvas factory default middle ground character size that we all have in common. But Axel's character design just doesn't follow this rule for whatever reason. He has a much larger, bulkier character model, which admittedly does complement his personality pretty well of being this hard-headed yet friendly guy, but at the same time, it's just a weird, jarring design choice that I also found distracting the entire game. It also doesn't help that you don't see another major character that plays a big role in the story use this body shape until literally the last chapter of the game. It makes him look like this big freak of nature amongst the rest of the cast and incredibly out of place. If anything, he also gave me Frankenstein's monster vibes too, between the pronounced unibrow and green clothes. I don't know, I guess like with the speaking animation issue, it's a detail that all things considered objectively took more work and would be a good design choice in any other game, but as a result of it being Minecraft, it just ends up as something that feels off and distracting the entire game. God, we're getting off topic again. Okay, so, we're Jesse, we have a funny pig that makes this face sometimes named Ruben, we have Olivia and Axel, our two best buds in the whole wide world, and we're getting everything ready to go to EnderCon, some kind of building competition / convention we apparently suck at. Alright, an underdog tale, I can dig it. We're also introduced here to how the more gameplay part of the gameplay works. Whenever you're not in a cutscene or an action sequence, you're given free range to move to walk around a small area and interact / look / talk with stuff in your immediate vicinity. It feels a little like an adventure game, actually. Jesse's a Gabriel fanboy. Okay. We grab a sword, shears, flint and steel, ask Ruben to do a dragon roar, in which he responds he... Where the hell did they get these pig sounds? Oh, they got them from D. Bradley Baker, apparently. God, even I knew who that is. He does the animal voices, right? I looked that up on a whim just now. I did not expect an actual person to be behind this character. I kind of assumed his sound effects were just pitched actual pig noises or something. God, he looks stupid wearing that. Well, with that all taken care of, let's head off to that EnderCon thing. Although, first we need to actually decide what we're going to build.
What's wrong with my idea?
Nothing. It could be totally cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
We're building a creeper.
I think this is...
Those pop-ups I never took seriously, by the way. I think those are also a Telltale staple, too. Apparently Gabriel is also going to be a guest of honor at this thing, and the winner of the building competition gets to meet him, which is pretty cool. We have a little bit of a training montage where we collect the building materials and, Okay, that looks funny. They do that a few times throughout the games, just showing footage of characters mining, but it's really sped up, and, well... Okay, I get that mining in Minecraft is a pretty boring, tedious, task in all honesty, but this just looks kind of silly. If I remember correctly, there's even a couple instances where they do something similar, but it's like they're building something instead, and that even looks a little goofier. But okay, we're here, and, oh look, characters who will become way more important later. These are the Ocelots. For right now, they're just kind of your generic early story bully group types.
They have a freaking beacon? Freaking beacon?
That's stained glass. They aren't just building a beacon. They're building a rainbow beacon.
Rainbow beacons. I don't know why, but I find it so weird whenever this game references somewhat niche game interactions like this and makes them a part of the story in some kind of way. Because rainbow beacons are a thing in Minecraft. It's a minor detail where if you take this light, a beacon shoots upwards, and then place a stained glass alongside its light, it then changes the color of the light. It's pretty cool. Although I don't believe there's an official term for this interaction, it's mostly a fan-made name for it. And the game does this kind of thing quite a bit actually, which, I don't know, it's kind of weird, but kind of cool as well.
You don't understand! This is a grinder!
For as bad as the writing can get in this game at points, and for as hard to take seriously as the entire premise is, the inclusion of terminology and language like this kind of hints to me that the writers behind this actually are very familiar with Minecraft at the end of the day. Like, these are actual fans telling this story, and not just corporately hired writers told to make a generic story of a Minecraft theme for a quick cash grab, you know? But then again, this would be like the equivalent to if Nintendo released a Mario game with the backwards long jump and actually called it that in-game. Fans of a series create terms for things within their respective favorite universes like this all the time, and to see official material actually use those terms, it feels both validating but also strange to see. At least to me. Does anyone else feel that sort of way about this sort of thing? We're also introduced to Petra, voiced by Ashley Johnson. She's a mercenary, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this character, although it's got nothing to do with the character itself. It's just, okay, I don't think I've ever really talked about this in a video yet before, but, like, I don't like mercenaries in media. The idea of a character who will do anything within reason for money and will look badass while doing it sounds like it should be a super cool setup for a lawful neutral character, but what I personally find is often done with these tropes of characters is it's used as a crutch. Like, hey, if you need a character to do something pretty morally gray without painting them as an outright villain, just make them a mercenary, say they're doing it for money. Now you don't have to challenge their morals as much because, hey, we all need money to survive, right? Like, I don't know, I find it to just be too easy a modifier to just slot into a character. It's too convenient a lot of the times, and truthfully, Petra is actually a really good example of this, actually, in terms of, like, what she does later in the chapter. I don't know. I don't want to say she's a badly written character, and her actress does a pretty good job of her, actually, but she is a character I didn't get much out of because her being a mercenary just made me less interested from the start for this reason. Especially since inevitably this led to me not talking to her as much or picking her when the game asked me to choose a character to do a story bit with. Although maybe the long player here might have hung out with her a little more, so my opinion could very well change in this playthrough. Alright then, let's start the buildering competition. Hey, let's make a Suited handshake on the fly while we're at it.
Needed crafting areas for any reason. And please try not to damage each other on your way to this.
God, this game is awkward. So we start building our creeper, and things are going pretty well, actually. Olivia flips a switch that causes it to launch fireworks, and a crowd comes to take a look. One of the Ocelots gets pissed off about this and breaks a block from another build, which releases some lava, which,
Oh no, Ruben's on fire!
We get a choice to either save the build or go after Ruben. Seems like a pretty obvious choice that we should go for the pig here.
Oof.
Oof? Wait a second, was that a reference to the old school Minecraft hurt sound? Probably not, but I can believe, right? We follow him into the woods and decide to split up so we can have a better chance of finding him. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like or subscribe. It'll help the channel become bigger. Thanks. Yeah, go support XCageGames again. This video would probably not be possible without them. Are we going to be seeing those pop-ups throughout this entire thing, by the way? Oh, those will probably be very fun reminders of who I am eternally indebted to. We wander around for quite a bit, actually. Let me tell you, they really want to build suspense and have you question if the pig is dead or something here. We pass a burning tree, a small herd of other pigs get jump scared by a chicken, we find one of the burnt wings itself, go through a cave for some reason, see a spider, come out of the cave, and oh, there he is. We might have wandered out too far too late, though, because monsters are starting to spawn. Okay, I actually kind of like how the zombies are animated in this game. Typically, they just walk statically with their arms raised forward, but here they move a bit more like traditional zombies. And unlike a lot of quote-unquote realistic interpretations of human movement in this game, I actually think they look kind of cool here. To jump ahead here, same deal with the spiders and heck a lot of the mobs for that matter. They look more animalistic and unpredictable this way, and it serves to make them a lot more threatening. It's here we're also introduced to the game's first action sequence, which are, I hate these. In fact, I'd even go as far as to say that these are the worst parts of the game. Like, I don't know, I can muster all the bad writing and cringe you can throw at me, but when you give me something frustrating, that's where it starts to cross a line in my eyes, and wow, these get frustrating. They often have these really short, bad minigames that feel half-programmed, if that makes sense. I never feel like I'm doing these optimally, even when I do succeed at them. And secondly, they're riddled with quick-time events, even more than the game normally is. Telltale games have a lot of these all the time, which makes sense given their general structure, but they're especially frustrating here not only because the game just piles them on you with little breathing room, but also because these are the rare instances in the game where you can die, at which point you'll have to go back a bit and try again. That doesn't sound that bad until you realize that this game has some of the worst checkpointing I've ever seen in a modern game. We're going to put this topic on the back burner for now, but rest assured I'll explain more about why these are especially bad for a game like this later. Particularly when we get to a certain action sequence that completely drove me up the wall and actually made me want to stop playing. I mean, I powered through it eventually. Again, we'll talk more about these later. For the time being, though, just know that these suck. Our sword breaks while we're fending off the zombies, and one of them attacks Ruben, giving him a permanent black eye for the rest of the game. I didn't expect a permanent change to a major character's design so early. That sometimes happens in these games, just not that early. Oh, but don't worry though, because Jesse can apparently one-shot a zombie with his fist. Have you ever tried using your bare fist as a weapon in Minecraft? You can't. It doesn't work. I don't know why this, of all things, offends me the most of anything in this scene. Eventually, Petra comes out of nowhere to rescue us and takes us to this cool cave to refuge for a bit. While here, we're told that her mercenary work has her going to the Nether to collect a wither skull.
There's this guy I'm meeting up with at EnderCon. He's gonna trade me a diamond for it.
A single diamond for a wither skull. Really? Dude, those things are kind of dangerous and a rare drop from them anyway. You probably could have bargained for something better there.
You just keep a crafting table down here?
What, you don't? That's like the most helpful block in the game. We have a moment with Petra, and she says she might be up to invite us to the Nether at some point. We also make a sword. Yes, XCage, that's how you make a sword. Actually, this crafting system is commonly praised for being kind of cool. I like it too. It's a pretty slick UI that gives you plenty of time to play around with whatever might be in your inventory at the current moment. The process is drawn out enough that it feels emotionally tense when it needs to be, but never to a point at which it feels annoying to do. And even gives you a helpful pop-up if you need it that tells you what you can make with your current items. You know, if you somehow are playing this game without knowing basic Minecraft crafting recipes.
Oh man, look
Creeper!
Lucas. Creepers!
Oh geez, maybe that was foreshadowing.
Crap.
Was that a cuss word? In Minecraft? I don't know why that feels so weird to me. I mean, the game is rated E10 up for mild language, but it still feels a little out of character for this franchise. We're forced to jump off the bridge, which leads to the opening credits scene. It was a little late for that, but whatever. And we swim down to the riverbank back to EnderCon. Ruben's swim animation is really funny to me. Starting the next scene, we're back in town and talking more about that deal Petra's going to make. We quickly meet up with those two again before breaking apart once more to go do that trade with Petra. In a creepy alley. This'll go well. We end up meeting up with the guy alone.
The name's Jesse. What's it to you?
Oh my god, that was an intense read of that line. This is Ivor, the guy we're making the deal with. This is actually my favorite character in the game, but we're not going to find out why until, like, 4 chapters in later, so just bear with me here. He's voiced by Paul Rubens, who is mostly known for his work with, Oh. Okay, I don't know who I expected to be the voice behind my favorite character, but it certainly wasn't Pee Wee Herman. God, that guy must have some serious range if he can do roles like this, too. He ends up tricking us, so we take chase and... God, that run animation looks so dumb. We end up losing him, though, and from here we kind of just explore the entirety of EnderCon and meeting up with our friends while looking for him.
All right, I'll look. After I watch one more chicken get owned.
Get owned? Oh my god, that's like ancient Aranet speak. Our pig almost dies again. There's actually a bit of a puzzle here involving slime where you gotta... Oh, jeez! Okay, so we follow him and find ourselves in a creepy alchemy library basement. While looking for him or the skull, Axel steals a potion, and then by flipping a switch, we reveal... Oh, that's an unfinished wither. With a command block in the center. Okay, so this is kind of cool, actually. What they're basically doing here is introducing an all-powerful thing into an already established universe that, at the same time, doesn't break the lore of said universe. Because command blocks are a thing in Minecraft. They're basically blocks you can place down that you can then input Java commands into to basically do whatever you want them to do. Although you're not able to acquire these through normal means. They're only available in creative mode, a game mode where you have free range to fly around, you're invincible, and can place blocks at your leisure. Basically a god mode if you want to just build for the fun of it or test stuff at your leisure without actually having to play the game like you normally do, or would have to worry about mobs like you would in survival mode, which is basically the complete opposite. You'll never even see one of these if you're doing a normal playthrough, which is most likely what this universe is set in given this line from Olivia.
I've never seen one of these before.
What the game has done here is basically found a way to be a bit meta without actually having to be meta, especially since it's right in the middle of something that you are super familiar with within Minecraft if you do know this game well. Oh, here we go! Where is he? Oh god! Okay, he's up there. Back up. Hold on. Another instant health. I'll do the regen too. Is he at half health? Is he spinning? You have to use a sword now. Okay. Oh no! Ah! You know the Wither is super dangerous, so like, is this double dangerous? It's kind of brilliant in my opinion. This scene really piqued my interest when I first saw it, because predictably this block does become a major story detail later.
We came down here to find the skull. Well, we found it.
Right as we're about to leave, Ivor gets in and we gotta hide.
Over here, jerk!
Or we cannot hide, sure.
If you won't leave of your own volition, I'll happily remove you myself. Show our friends the door, will you?
God, again what I was saying about liking how some of the mobs are animated in this game. You know, I once got one of these trapped in a soap bar for Christmas. He'll probably be out by the time I finish this video. What do you guys think? Leave your predictions below. Okay, so we get out just in time to Gabriel being introduced to an adoring crowd. That's Dave Fennoy playing him, by the way. Looking through his IMDb, he does a lot of roles. Not a lot I recognize per se, but of the ones I do, a common theme I notice is that he's a generally good go-to guy when you need someone with a deep, masculine, booming voice. Dare I say he might be one of the best voice performances in this game, to a point in which he even feels a little out of place.
You know, when Elgard and the dragon, like, what was her favorite food?
Bread. Next question.
That's actually one of the best jokes in the game. We try to enlist his help to investigate the scary monster Ivor is making in the basement when suddenly he comes out of nowhere to crash the party himself. They know each other apparently. He leads on that Gabriel might not be so great as we thought. He ends up completing the Wither. Now, I knew what to expect at this point. Withers, you know, they're destructive, they shoot these, like, skull fireballs, they, like, whatever they kill turns into, like, a black rose or something. But wait, the Wither can't do that. Wait, what is that command block programmed to do exactly? Oh, that center head is freaky. Oh dang, that super secret potion isn't even doing anything either. Oh jeez, it's got a tractor beam too! So, when I started this game, I don't know what I expected the big bad villain to be. Maybe the Ender Dragon, maybe some man versus creator allegory, maybe like the Illagers or something. No, it's this. A Wither corrupted by a command block program to make it consume all. It's kind of neat. They turned, like, the only other boss in the game, at least at the time, into a borderline force of nature villain. Unfortunately, we got an action sequence here, like, a pretty long one, actually, but again, I'll talk about these later.
Hurry! Inside the temple! The inner chambers...
Whoa! That was a cool transition. We escape into Gabriel's temple and are about to escape even further into another portal, basically a portal to hell if you're not familiar with Minecraft, before we're given an amulet. Apparently it will help us find the Order of the Stone members, who will no doubt be able to help defeat this thing. Gabriel and Petra then get taken away by the Wither, and we're told to save one. This runner chose Petra. I probably chose Gabriel on my first playthrough. It looks like you have a chance to save both of them, but the runner fails a QuickTime event and then is thrown into the portal before he can save him. I don't know if that leads to anything major changing. I guess we'll have to find out later.
Where's Petra?
We did everything we could.
Oh yeah, have I mentioned Lucas at all yet in all of this? He was the leader of the Ocelots who got separated and is just kind of along for the ride right now, and he's going through a bit of a redemption arc. He's voiced by Scott Porter. He seems to do a lot of variety of stuff, typically live action, which makes me think that this has got to be one of his weirdest roles. Ivor somehow managed to make his way through the portal too, along with a tentacle that breaks the door. Well, I guess we're stuck here now.
Don't pretend you don't know, thief! You took my most
Punch
valuable
him?
potion.
Oh my god!
More.
Ivor will remember that. Alright, so he actually gives us some advice on how to get out of here before getting out himself, and we're left to deal with a ghast. Again, it's cool how these mobs are animated. We grab a minecart, which takes us on a pretty intense action sequence. Okay, that would have killed you. Those things freaking explode. Good god, to know Jesse can take 10 hits from those. See, this is another reason I hate the action sequences. The game has a very loose idea of what should and should not actually kill you. It borderline feels random sometimes. We eventually come across another portal that leads us back to the overworld. You know, I do think it's pretty creative that they use the Nether here for something actual players use it for. Basically, a way to travel really quickly in Minecraft is to use the Nether, because one step in the Nether takes you like 8 steps in the overworld or something. Oh god damn it, more combat. Oh wow, watch out XCageGame, that zombie does the same amount of damage as an exploding fireball. We build a treehouse, take shelter for the night, have a heart-to-heart over cookies. Axel and Lucas have some drama, and then in the morning, we head out again and find that temple. As we enter, we actually get kind of a funny puzzle. Rootman hits a pressure plate that causes a bunch of dispensers to start firing arrows. Lucas then reckons that we can turn off this trap by hitting another pressure plate at the under end of the room, but we have limited materials to work with. While XCage makes a bow and arrow here to fire at the switch and weigh down the pressure plate, and that's clearly the obvious thing to make here, your materials also allow you to make a fishing rod, because a fishing rod's bobber can activate a pressure plate in Minecraft as well. I kind of like this actually. It feels almost like an Easter egg since it requires some not so obvious knowledge of the base game.
Ivor was a member of the Order of the Stone?
That's a pretty big plot twist. We find our way onto the roof of the building where we get a really annoying switch puzzle, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's not a hard puzzle per se, but it's just that the UI is extremely annoying. That leads to us discovering that the true usage of Gabriel's amulet is to show you the locations of the other Order of the Stone members. Our mission is now clear. Reunite the Order, as together they're sure to find a way to defeat the Witherstorm. We're given a choice here, and this might be one of the biggest choice-branching pathways in the entire game. You can either go with Axel to find Magnus, the TNT guy, or you can go with Olivia to find Elgar, the Redstone lady. When I played this, I went with Olivia here because I've always been a big fan of Redstone myself, and I kind of prefer Olivia as a character anyway. And with one last shot of the Witherstorm on the horizon, Chapter 1 comes to an end. God, that was only the first chapter. So far, this game was nothing like what I expected it to be. I mean, I didn't know what to expect what it could have even been in the first place, aside from maybe a retelling of how you complete Minecraft, but in a more epic fashion. But so far we have drama, betrayal, an original villain, an original cosmic horror, and it's even gotten a little meta. Now, given it's not the best written story in the world, and some of its major players are pretty annoying or unlikable, but for someone like me, this was enough of a hook. I needed to know where this was going. My good idea, bad execution senses were tingling, which, from experience, tends to hook me more than safe but good writing anyway. Regardless, let's go on and start Chapter 2. Although, that's something we're going to be doing next time. Yeah, this video is only going to be covering Chapter 1, because I actually have a bit of an idea I would like to try for this video essay, just to see how it works. And it might be something I do permanently from now on if it turns out well. Basically, I would like to try uploading this entire video essay in chunks as I complete them. So basically, every chapter of this game is going to be its own video, as opposed to what I normally do, which is I create the whole thing at once and then upload it in a single video. Firstly, it would result in more consistent, flexible video essay content throughout the year. I've always been the type to upload these on a when they're done kind of basis, and I don't plan to change that anytime soon, but by simply divvying them up like this will result in those gaps being between them being more along the lines of weeks as opposed to months, you know? Even if they're still technically the same project the whole way through, and said videos are shorter. This will also give me more wiggle room as, say, if something happens, such as something comes out I absolutely need to make a video on, or like my computer breaks or something, my already completed work will still be able to be enjoyed by people, as opposed to being sat unfinished on my computer until I can just happen to get around to it again. Heck, this might even be better from an analytics point of view as well. Multiple videos means multiple opportunities to be seen by people, all of which would be cross-promoting each other. If something were to happen to one of them, such as getting content ID'd or age restricted, then the whole essay isn't compromised. That actually happened with a much older video of mine kind of recently. The video's been heavily suppressed since. It's the first time this has ever happened to me, and I'm actually kind of scared it could potentially have some effects on the visibility of the rest of my channel as a whole. But I don't know. Heck, maybe when the whole thing is done, I could compile the entire thing into one massive video anyway as a bonus, all while removing anything YouTube has issues with and fixing any research mistakes I made in the process along the way. I think you're allowed to do that. I know I've seen other YouTubers do that sort of thing before, but yeah, I hope you folks look forward to that. And in the meantime, I'd like to thank my Patreon supporters as always, Royal Blood, Sean, and Great Wolf. If you'd like to see your name here in the future too, the link to my Patreon will be in the description below. I really gotta start promoting this more this year too. It's only 2 tiers and they're nothing special, but it is one of the best ways to support me if you're able to and would like to do so. And at the higher tier, I'll do a digital art for you. Anyway, until next time, and thanks for watching.